Once upon a time, in a cozy cottage deep in the woods lived a mama bear, a papa bear, and their baby bear. They were known as the Three Bears. One day, the three bears went out into the forest to pick berries. While they were out, a little girl with golden hair wandered into their home. She was very hungry, and she started eating the food in the house. First, she ate some honey. Then she tasted some porridge that was still hot from the stove. And then she tried a piece of bread that was baking in the oven. But the bread was too hot, so she took a place by the window to wait for it to cool down. Meanwhile, outside the cottage, a big, bad wolf was sniffing around. He had followed the little girl and he was getting ready to pounce. But just then, who should come walking through the door but the three bears, returning from their berry picking. The girl was so scared that she ran and hid under the bed. The big bad wolf thought this was his lucky day. Finally, someone delicious to eat was inside the cottage. And even better, it was a little girl, not a grumpy old witch. But then the wolf looked over at the bed and saw the golden-haired girl hiding there. He didn't want to eat her. In fact, he wanted to make her an offer. "Little girl," he said, his voice dripping with fake sweetness. "I may have been a big, bad wolf in the past, but now I am reformed. In fact, I have given up hunting animals, and I have taken up knitting. Would you like me to knit you a nice warm sweater? We can be best friends." The girl peeked out from under the bed. She could see that the wolf wasn't really dangerous. His sharp teeth were all lined up neatly in a row like he was showing off a collection of shiny white pearls. His sharp claws were sheathed in soft, furry mittens. And instead of a big, scary, toothy grin, he had a ball of yarn sticking out of his mouth. She came out from under the bed and said, "That sounds lovely, Mr. Wolf. But I am waiting for my papa bear to come back and take me home." The wolf slumped down on a chair and sighed. "Well, that sounds fun. May I come along? I do love a good party." "Oh, I'm sure your parties are lots of fun, Mr. Wolf," said the girl. "But my papa is a dancing bear. He likes to dance at every party." The wolf gulped. He did not like to dance. In fact, he hated to dance. It made him feel dizzy and sick to his stomach. But he couldn't let the girl know that. So he put on his best smile and said, "Oh, I simply adore dancing. I haven't danced since I was a little wolf pup. Do you think my old dancing shoes are still in good shape?" "Oh, never mind. I don't need shoes to dance, I dance barefoot." The girl laughed and said, "Let's go find my papa." She stepped outside with the wolf close behind her. And after a short while, they heard a happy humming coming from behind a large tree. Peeking around the trunk, they saw the most amazing sight. Papa Bear was dancing with all of the forest animals. Squirrels were leaping and bounding. Rabbits were hopping in circles. Even the birds came down from the trees to do a little jig. The girl and the wolf walked into the clearing, and soon the whole group stopped to stare at them. The girl felt a little embarrassed. She wanted to join the dancing, but she was afraid that the animals would be scared if they saw her with the wolf. But then something amazing happened. Mama Bear walked over to the wolf, took his paw, and said, "Why don't you dance with me?" Papa Bear put his paw on the girl's hand and said, "And you dance with me?" The girl and the wolf looked at each other, and then back at the bears. The girl smiled and took Papa Bear's paw. The wolf shook his furry little head and said, "I really don't want to dance." But before he could back away, Mama Bear had already pulled him into the center of the circle. The girl and the wolf were too surprised to say anything, so They started dancing with the bears and the other animals. The girl twirled around and around until she was dizzy. But then she stopped and looked over at the wolf. He wasn't dancing. He was sitting on the ground with his eyes closed. Sheev walked over and asked, "Are you all right, Mr. Wolf?" He opened his eyes and said, "I am fine. Just watching you dance makes me very happy." The girl blushed. She was glad that the wolf was enjoying the party, even if he didn't want to dance. After the sun went down and the stars came out, it was time for the girl to go home. The three bears walked her back to the cottage, and the wolf followed behind them. When they got to the door, the girl turned around and said, "Thank you for the wonderful evening, Mr. Wolf. It was truly magical." "Oh, it was my pleasure," he said, giving her a wink. "I had a simply marvelous time." Then the girl walked into the cottage, and the wolf slunk away into the dark forest. Every night after that, the wolf came to visit the girl, and every night they would dance under the stars.